All right, welcome to The Explainer. So remember when the idea of the US buying Greenland was all over the headlines? It might have sounded a little out there, but it was pointing to a huge strategic reality. The Arctic is the next great frontier. Today, we're diving into what's being called the Green Trump Deal, a massive plan to lock in America's tech dominance for the next 100 years. And it's all centered right there.
Okay, let's get right into it with the big number, over $750 billion. Now, this isn't just one project. We're talking about the total combined value of brand new infrastructure in power, in computing, and in global communications, all of it unlocked by one single strategic move in the Arctic.
But look, this isn't just about the money, not by a long shot. This is about a fundamental choice, and it all revolves around one pivotal location. The real question we're asking today is this: could this one spot on the map hold the key to America's leadership in the very technologies that are going to define our future, from AI all the way to global comms?
Here's the game plan for how we're going to unpack this. We'll look at that huge $750 billion prize, then the infrastructure triple threat that makes it possible. We'll get into the urgent need to break China's monopoly, why 2028 is a hard deadline, and finally, what this all means as a choice for American leadership.
So, where does a number that big even come from? Well, it all stands on three incredibly powerful, interconnected pillars. Think of it as an infrastructure triple threat that could set up American dominance for decades to come.
First up, power. Cheaper power. This is all about completely changing the economics of computing. You know, in an age where data is the new oil, the cost of running the refineries, our massive data centers, that cost is everything.
And this is the key number here. A staggering 85% cost reduction for data centers. That's for both generating the power and for cooling the machines. How? Well, the Arctic's crazy consistent high winds and, of course, the natural cold give it a sustainable advantage that warmer climates just can't compete with.
And you can see what that 85% really means in cold, hard cash. Over a decade, one data center in the Arctic costs nearly half of what it would in a hot climate. But just look at the cooling costs. It's a 90% drop. I mean, that's not just an improvement, that's a total game changer. It rewrites the entire business model.
Okay, so that's pillar one. Now for pillar two. This is where it gets even more interesting. Faster global communications. Turns out, the same geography that makes cooling practically free also creates a massive shortcut for the world's data.
We're talking about brand new undersea fiber optic cables in the Arctic that are, get this, 30 to 40% shorter than the old routes. And shorter distance means lower latency, less delay. In a world of AI and high-frequency trading, every millisecond counts, and this shaves off a lot of them.
But here's the thing, it's not just about speed. It's about security. The traditional routes, they all snake through these incredibly volatile choke points. The Red Sea, the Taiwan Strait. The Arctic routes, on the other hand, run through secure US and NATO allied territory. What this creates is a tougher, more defensible network for the entire Western world.
And that brings us to the third, and honestly the foundational pillar for this whole thing: securing the raw materials we need to build it all. Because let's face it, you can't build next-gen data centers and fiber cables if you can't get your hands on the right minerals.
The name of the game here is strategic autonomy. What's that mean? Well, it just means we stop depending on countries that might not have our best interests at heart for the stuff we absolutely need for our economy and our national security.
And wouldn't you know it, Greenland is basically a giant treasure chest of these materials. We're talking vast, world-class deposits of over 25 strategic minerals. Everything from the rare earths you need for F-35 fighter jets, to the high-purity graphite for every EV battery, all the way to vanadium for massive energy storage. It's all there.
Okay, so this all leads directly to the geopolitical angle. Why this isn't just a business plan, but a strategic necessity right now.
And this chart just lays it out perfectly. The problem is China. They process almost everything. 85% of all rare earths. That's not just market share, folks. That's a monopoly. It's a chokehold on the supply chains for everything from your smartphone to our most advanced weapons.
And look, don't think for a second this is just some theoretical risk. Beijing has already played this card again and again. They've cut off Japan, they've threatened the US, they keep slapping on new export controls. They are actively weaponizing this dependency.
And it's the exact same story with our data, the exact same vulnerability. Our entire communications architecture today relies on a handful of southern choke points that are just sitting ducks for conflict or sabotage. The Arctic routes give us a resilient, secure alternative that we and our allies control.
All right, now for what might be the single most critical piece of this puzzle, the timeline. This isn't some 50-year vision. And let me tell you, the window to act is incredibly narrow, and it is closing fast.
The magic date here is 2027-2028. That's the go-live for the new Far North fiber cable, the first big Arctic data highway. That one event is the catalyst for this entire opportunity. But it only works if we've already done the foundational work on the power, the computing, and the resources before it goes live.
You know, in something this big, being the first one there, that's everything. If we move now, we get to set the standards, we attract the investment, we control the entire architecture. If we wait, well, the cost of delay is huge. We end up ceding leadership to China and their Polar Silk Road, and we become dependent on the networks they built, on their terms.
So, when you strip it all away, what we're left with is a very clear choice, a fundamental choice, really, about America's strategic position for the rest of the 21st century.
It's really option A versus option B. Option A, we stick with the status quo. We stay dependent on fragile supply chains, we use vulnerable communication routes, and we pretty much accept that we're going to fall behind in the race for AI dominance. Or there's option B, Arctic leadership. Seize control, secure our own supply chains, and build an infrastructure that gives America an unbelievable competitive advantage.
You know, the analysis behind all this really puts it bluntly. The case for acting is compelling, the arguments are overwhelming, and the timeline isn't some far-off date. The window of opportunity is between 26 and 2028. It's right now.
So this whole idea about Greenland, it was never just a quirky real estate deal. It's a strategic imperative. The opportunity is on the table, the tech is ready to go, and the clock is ticking. The window is now. So the only question left is, will we lead